I'm very pleased to talk to you today about Khaldunia Institute of Technology and Applied Sciences, we call KITAS. We just established a college. Ultimately, we plan to establish a degree-awarding institute called KITAS. Very often people ask me, why did you name your institution KITAS or Khaldunia? So I have to explain them who Ibn-e-Khaldun was, because I was inspired by Ibn-e-Khaldun's writings. He was a sociologist, historian, and I first came into contact with his writings when I was a sociology student, and his name is always listed as one of these sociologists of modern times. Though he's ended his life in 14th century, he spent a very meaningful, colorful life as ambassador, diplomat, historians, shuttling between Andalusia, Tunisia, and other Arab countries. So he is a great. I was very much influenced by his writings and his ideas. So that's why I named Khaldunia Institute of Technology Applied Sciences, because I want to follow his thought process, where he talks about research analysis is the way to understand societies and cultures and histories. His very famous book, which he wrote, is called Al-Muqaddama, in which he read the whole history of the Arab culture, Arab people, Arab states, and tried to explain why Arabs had to come to a downfall ultimately. One of the major explanations was that because the Arabs were a clan culture, a tribal culture, they followed that throughout their history, including the invasions. But later on, when they established as a very large Muslim empire, they forgot those connections. They started establishing states as a state and followed the rules and regulations and forgot about the relationships of clans and tribes. So he thinks that was the reason for their downfall. He wrote many other books, but he was also a very active diplomat. He used to shuttle between states and try to resolve different issues in the Arab states, Muslim states. From Andalusia to Tunisia, from Tunisia to Egypt, and many other places. I remember his last visit or one of his last visits to Egypt was that he was approached by the Egyptian ruler to help him by going to Baghdad and talking to the invading army of Mongols, Ghalako Khan's grandson, to convince him not to burn the library. There was a plan to burn the library, Baghdad library. So he goes to Baghdad, meets with the Ghalako Khan's scion, and he asked him, first of all, he asked, who are you to come to me? He said, I'm a historian, I write history. Okay, then write history of the Mongols first, then come to me. Then we'll think about your recommendation not to burn the library. So he came back very happily to Cairo and started writing about the history of the Mongols. In the meantime, he learned that the library has already been burned. This is one of the stories I read in his books. But I think it's important for us to understand that his writings influenced a lot of Western sociologists and historians. One of them was Machiavelli, the one who wrote the Leviathan, the Prince. People say, critics say, or analysts say that this work was very much influenced by Ibn Khaldun's writings. So therefore, I thought, since I'm establishing a new institution in Pakistan, so this would have been uh, this is why I wanted to have my students to learn about, among faculty and students to learn about Ibn Khaldun and his great thoughts and great writings. The second reason why I also named one of my, if you like, professors in Columbia and at Massachusetts, at Amherst, Dr. Iqbal Ahmed, who used to spell Iqbal Ahmed for me, was a great patriot, great Pakistani, but spent most of his life abroad. He spent some years fighting Algerian war with Ben Bella and others. He was an activist, Dr. Iqbal Ahmed. I met him first time in University of Chicago in 1968. And then I became his admirer. He was a great philosopher, thinker. He ultimately came to, in his last years of life, he wanted to establish a university in Pakistan. And he brought a proposal to Benazir Bhutto that he wanted to establish a university, Khaldunia University of Social Sciences in Pakistan, because he believed that social sciences were very much weak and not given enough attention. There's a whole university should be dedicated to social science. I met him in Pakistan when he was on visits to get his approval. Unfortunately, he was not given the land which was promised to him by Benazir Bhutto. He was very disappointed, dejected. In this process, he died, gave his life. So I thought I'll honor him, Dr. Iqbal Ahmed, by establishing Khaldunia Institute. This is not as a huge project as he had come up. He wanted to have established a full university, but I'm starting with an institute, degree about institute, with the same purpose, with some difference, because we nowadays need, while social science is important, but we also need technology and applied sciences to prepare our young people for the new world, which is a world of technology and applied sciences. So I have added technology and applied sciences in the institute because that's the need of the hour. But overall, our philosophy will be to prepare human beings, students, graduates, with not only with degrees but other skills, other characters, and other value system, that they will go out and really present themselves as fully committed individuals for development of society at large. So that is the reason I named this institution. As we go along, we will develop some write-ups on the Ibn Khaldun's various aspects of writings, and even maybe include in our curricula some of his thoughts in sociology, as already some sociology schools do it. They teach the Muqaddama, or the rise and fall of human civilization and culture, his interpretation of the history. I think this is, I'm very excited. This connection with Ibn Khaldun will give me enough opportunities to bring about a change in our thinking process of Pakistani society, to think about scientifically how societies work, how societies grow and develop, how civilizations rise and fall, which understands just scientifically, not just history not written with scientific methodology. I think his major focus was to analyze the data. I was very much focused on data analysis. A historian focusing on data analysis is a very unusual thing. But he was a historian, but he was also focusing on use of data, use of evidence, use of facts. So evidence-based analysis will be another of his contribution to social sciences. So all in all, my objective is to introduce to Pakistani society students about Ibn Khaldun. In the meantime, what I found that somebody, Professor Everett from London School of Hygiene and London School of Oriental Studies, he admired Ibn Khaldun, so he wrote a book, Ibn Khaldun. In that book, he writes all about his history, his life, how he spent his life. He's a great admirer. So I want to write. I want to introduce this new video which I found. It describes the life of Ibn Khaldun in historical context. And that I want to introduce that, to bring to you that video, which gives a little bit more details about Ibn Khaldun's life and how his life is still, his work is still useful, influential for us even today. That video, I hope you will like it. You will learn more about Ibn Khaldun in this video. Thank you very much.